One of my cinematic heroes is Raul Ruiz, a filmmaker of such insurmountable imagination both technically and narratively. To me, Ruiz's filmography is one of the most compelling ever realized. Ruiz made his feature debut with 1968's Free Sad Tigers. Well, to some degree, we'll get into that later. The plot of Free Sad Tigers relates the hazy, drunken nights of three apathetic younger individuals, Tito, Amanda, and Luco, bouncing around Santiago de Chile, Chile's capital city. Eventually, their existential woes provoke a violent conclusion. I tend to think of Raul Ruiz as a cinematic equivalent of Jorge Luis Borges, Chilean rather than Argentinian, but the magical realism of Borges' literature seems to have found itself a cinematic nest in the mind of Ruiz. I would love to ask a Chilean what they think of this film, as I imagine it contains insights into that nation's culture which are completely lost on myself. I have sourced free user reviews from IMDb, all seemingly written by Chilean individuals, so let's hear what they have to say. From Gonzalo San Martin on the 6th of December 2004, he gives it 10 out of 10, writing, "It's the best Chilean film ever made. This movie is the best portrait of Chilean society. Ruiz show us like a group of little people with little problems, with a very special way of life. The strangest Spanish and all South American, with the funniest accent too. This movie is like Martin Scorsese's Mean Street, but without the crime ingredient. You must see it if you want to know what it's to be a Chilean, how you can feel believing that you're in the center of the world but actually living in the end, almost hanging from the continent. Raul Ruiz right now is living in Paris and making the most bizarre but fascinating films of the French production. Free Sad Tigers is very difficult to find, but if you can, I tell you that you'll have a real gem." And now from Banshee214 in 2006, 1 out of 10. A guy meets a girl, then he tries to flirt with her. The girl's brother doesn't like him. He writes further, "I finally managed to see this one. I don't get why it is always praised as best Chilean movie. It certainly isn't. First of all, it's almost impossible to understand what the characters are saying in the whole film. It's hard even for Chileans like me. Then, the movie's got no plot at all. There's a fight on an apartment, some conversations on a working class bar, erotic scenes through a window, people sitting on a bus and singing Free Sad Tigers, a local tongue twister, some cool panoramic shots of Santiago, but no more than that. The remains are out-of-focus scenes and bizarre camera angles. Very experimental though. I love Ruiz movies, but this one is extremely overrated. Trust me, I don't." Then we've got from X-Phil from 2013, Dogma 95 style anti-Chilean masterpiece. Ruiz's first completed feature won him top prize at Locarno at the age of 28. This is a bleak and blackly humorous vision of a couple of hopeless losers' quotidian attempt to get by over a few days at the ages of Santiago de Chile's inebriated underworld of squalid strip joints and dingy apartments. Nelson Villagra and Shenda Roman are both totally credible as an emotionally numb, mumbling brother pimp and sister whore team, and Jamie Vadel is also great as Villagra's ambitious, frisky, sometimes boss. Organized semi-criminality and sweaty, repressed frustration pervade the world of the film. Every conversation produces conflict and violence. The military coup of 1973 is approaching, with unbridled neoliberalism to follow. Formally, the film has little in common with Ruiz's later European work, but his trademark experimental play with language and music is already in effect. The handheld black and white cinematography is rough and ready yet ambitious for a no-budget indie directorial debut made of the country's only Arriflex. The camera often seems like a spectator in these muscular, evidently meticulously choreographed long takes. The film bears comparison of Cassavetes' Shadows, 1959, and Faces, 1968, Ayoseliani's Once Upon a Time There Was a Singing Blackbird, 1970, and even Scorsese's Mean Streets, 1973. Nadi di Jornada, 1971, was Ruiz's surreal bohemian companion piece to Free Sad Tigers. Yes, all very fascinating. The film's photography is grounded in a you are there naturalist realism, although its ability to conjure the available lights in its frame, and or hide the ones off screen, is absolutely masterly. A sensational film and among the finest debut films of all time. Well, actually, I was meaning to get to that. From what I can understand, this is not Ruiz's true feature debut in a sense. In fact, the cinematographer on Free Sad Tigers, Diego Bonacina, had also shot this previous film. That film has recently been completed and therefore available as of 2020. I'm yet to see this film, The Tango of the Widower, but I'm very grateful to Valeria Sarmiento, the late Ruiz's spouse and film editor, for completing this previously unavailable work, or mostly unavailable, I believe. Three Sad Tigers I consider one of the most impressive debut films ever made, if we're going to call it that. Its narrative is dynamic, and the film is shot from the ground level, immersing the viewer in its actions and guiding our consciousness through a dimension of uncertainty, nihilism, and the joyfully bittersweet. The beginning of one of the finest bodies of work in cinema history, Three Sad Tigers is a tremendous film and one I am in mild reverence of.